Kelly, I'm so sorry, Kelly L. Austin. Love this. Wanted to use selections to show my students that extraordinarily beautiful writing can be about really dark and frightening things. I totally agree. I think this book should definitely be taught at every English class. Well, maybe not English class. There's probably a few passages that wouldn't be, suitable, but Red Stripes 21. I especially liked reading the struggles of the language barriers that they encountered for somebody living in a country where I don't fully speak the native language. I hear you. Been there. I loved feeling Little Dog's growth through his words. Completely. Oh, yeah. We were exchanging truths, I realised, which is to say we were cutting one another. Yes. That scene in Dunkin' Donuts. That was a real heartbreaker. I'm going to read about sort of just after Trevor has been introduced, but it's a little bit later, and he says, "But how do I tell you about the boy without telling you about the drugs that blew it apart, the oxy and the coke, the way they made the world smoulder at its tips, and then the rust-red Chevy, the one Buford gave his son, Trev's old man, when he was just 24. The one the old man cherished, having repaired and replaced enough parts to make 4 trucks over through the years. How its windows were already blue-streaked and its tires smooth as human skin by the time we blasted through the corn, going 55 as Trevor shouted crazy, a patch of fentanyl hot on his arm, the liquid melted through its edges and dripping down his bicep like sick sap. Cocaine in our noses, our lungs, we laughed in a way. And then the swerve, a smithereen of yellow, the slam, glass skittering, the crushed hood smouldering under the dead oak. A red line running down Trevor's cheek, then widening at his jaw. Then his daddy, calling from the house, the rage in his scream jolting us from the seats. Again, it's like his ability to be within a scene and describe it in almost these disjointed flashes, but yet it all, I don't know, it just all is so descriptive and makes you really feel like you can see every single moment. And I actually, I think this is also one of the things I love about this book, is that it sort of touches on so many aspects of issues that are very current and problematic in America today, without it feeling like he purposefully wanted to preach or anything like that. But this whole section that he had, and I'm going to find it, on OxyContin, and just in so few lines how he managed to touch on an epidemic that is ravaging parts of America with such brevity, but yet such just sharpness. That's the thing about his writing. It's like his scalpel. It's like so sharp. Trevor was put on OxyContin after breaking his ankle during dirt bike jumps in the woods a year before I met him. He was 15. OxyContin, first mass-produced by Purdue Pharma in 1996, is an opioid, essentially making it heroin in pill form. After a month on Oxy, Trevor's ankle healed, but he was a full-blown addict. And I'm going to go to 182, where they... Using a multi-million-dollar ad campaign, Purdue sold OxyContin to doctors as safe, abuse-resistant means of managing pain. The company went on to claim that less than 1% of users became addicted, which was a lie. By 2002, prescriptions of OxyContin for non-cancer pain increased nearly 10 times, with total sales reaching over 3 billion. And so in a very personal and emotional story about drug addiction, he's able to just lay in these little bits of information that floor you, because I mean those statistics are just insane. Okay, sorry, I'll keep going. These are going so fast, I don't know how to I've read about kids coming through Rwandan war, and the traumas are similar. It made me think of the kids living through war now and how it will affect society in another 10 to 20 years. I mean, this is the thing. Trauma, I mean, you think of the children in Syria, and if anyone has not seen For Sama, the documentary, I highly, highly recommend it. It's not going to be the most fun documentary to watch, but we have to consider these things, in our lives. Do we have a responsibility as a human race to look after everyone? And do we have to think about what our own personal countries, our own personal governments, their policies, how do they affect people around the world? And are those things that matter to us? And maybe they don't. And maybe, people think I need to just take care of my own little community, and that's okay. But there is a butterfly effect to every single action, and none of us live on an island. Not going to get preachy. The saddest thing was the wasted potential of little dogs, friends, neighbours, and family. I know. I mean, I think it's a terrible epidemic that has ravaged America. As children, we often forget that our parents had a life that is separate from our own. It made me think about my own mother more deeply and the life she's lived. Well, that's amazing. Let me see. Sometimes writing a letter isn't just for who you're writing it for. Yes, this is true. I also think he starts it the way he does because he lives in two worlds, America and home with Hong and Lan. And in his story, he's learning to make space for those identities. Very true. This book is so beautifully written. It shined a light on Vietnamese and American cultures from such a knowing viewpoint. Also reading the book Saigon, which is similarly provoking and beautiful. I don't know of that one yet, but I will look it up. I have read his poem Trevor. Let's see what else. I love the way he spoke about certain memories, like when he said it could have been this or that or this or this and so forth. Yes, I agree. So excited to read the next book from your book club. Yes, well, I'm excited to let you all know about it, which I will in about 3 or 4 minutes. This inspired me to write a letter to my parents after not being with them for 9 years. I was 15 and I was 24 when I visited them again. I'm just unsure how to let out how I feel. I think you just start with being honest, and sometimes it's take your time. I think as long as you remember that they always love you, no matter how they may be unable to express that. We all were given very different tools from our parents, and they were given different tools from their parents, but love is always there. The part where he goes shopping with his family and he's needed to translate is too terrifying. It broke my heart. He could just stand there while the grocers laughed at his mother's. I know. Okay, what else have we got? Did your grandma also ask you to take out the snow in her hair? I feel like it's a very Asian thing to do. No, both my grandparents, I think, had quite a bit of snow in their hair by the time I remember them. But my Aunt Mary, who had the most amazing jet black, long, poker straight hair, I remember as kids we would brush it for ages. And as we got a bit older, I remember once or twice she told us to pull out her little white hairs, but it's a lovely memory actually. Have I read Americana? Yes, and I'm going to butcher her name and I'm very sorry, Chimamanda Adichie. It's a great book. So why did I start book club? Because I love to read and you guys love to read, and I feel like there was always tweets going back and forth about what I was reading or what you guys were reading, and it just felt like, well, why not create a little community? Obviously I love Outlander so much, but sometimes the conversation is always that, and I thought it would be nice to have a conversation where we just discuss other literature and pick other books. And it's not to detract from that, because I still have my very much Outlander focused other Instagram, but this is just something that's kind of connected but a little bit separate, so I thought it'd be fun. As a fellow traveller that had lived in different countries, especially at a young age, what advice do you have when trying to keep your identity while forced to assimilate, especially in the USA? I don't know, because I don't know. I don't understand how you're being forced to assimilate. I think that it's a very hard thing to adapt to a place and not feel like a stranger and feel isolated, but also retain your own identity. It's probably a little easier for me because I'm Irish, and literally everywhere you go there is an Irish bar. I remember years ago when I was backpacking and I went to Nepal, and one of the first things you saw coming out of the Kathmandu airport, at least back then, was a massive Guinness sign and a little sign saying an Irish bar this way. So actually when I first left Ireland and I was 18, I moved to France and I had a lot of friends, and I went to an Irish bar and met a guy and met lots of Irish people, and so I found myself too much surrounded by Irish people. So when I moved to America, it was almost like a conscious decision not to go down that same path, because I wanted to, I suppose, not just shelter in what I know. And in the end, I ended up, of course, having a big ton of Irish friends, but I think it was good for a while to sort of try and just explore without going down that sort of safe path. But I hope you figure it out, or it gets easier. Okay, I'm going to read one or two more things, and then I will tell you what our new book is. Right. Oh, this was beautiful. This is when he is writing about Lan passing away. But he says, "We try to preserve life even when we know it has no chance of enduring its body. We feed it, keep it comfortable, bathe it, medicate it, caress it, even sing to it. We tend to these basic functions not because we are brave or selfless, but because, like breath, it is the most fundamental act of our species to sustain the body until time leaves it behind. I thought that was quite beautiful. And this will be the last passage I read. I am thinking of beauty again, how some things are haunted because we have deemed them beautiful. If relative to the history of our planet, an individual life is so short, a blink of an eye, as they say, then to be gorgeous even from the day you're born to the day you die is to be gorgeous only briefly. Like right now, how the sun is coming on, low behind the elms, and I can tell the difference between a sunset and a sunrise. And I can't tell the difference between a sunset and a sunrise. The world, reddening, appears the same to me, and I lose track of east and west. The colours this morning have the frayed tint of something already leaving. I think of the time Trev and I sat on the tool shed roof, watching the sun sink. I wasn't so much surprised by its effect, how in a few minutes, in a few crushed minutes, it changes the way things are seen, including ourselves. But that it was ever mine to see, because the sunset, like survival, exists only on the verge of its own disappearing. To be gorgeous, you must first be seen, but to be seen allows you to be hunted. So beautiful. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know that it was a difficult read for some of you, and I think if you have experienced trauma, sometimes this can be triggering, but I also think that sometimes it can be healing, because we can understand that other people have experienced something like maybe what you have, or there's some kind of connection, and hopefully that also means that you will find a way through it, just like Ocean has, and be it through writing, or be it through art, or creating, or loving, or peace, or gardening, or whatever it is for you, that sometimes, you know, we know we have to let go of it, or we have to move through it, that it'll never fully leave us, but yeah, it's possible. So I should have had it right here, but I went to get my beer and I forgot to grab the book. So 1 second. Ooh. All right, I've totally left it downstairs. Okay, well, the book is called Ordinary People, not to be confused with Normal People, which you all know that I've read and have loved, and I have been raving about it. And if you haven't seen the TV show, you should also watch it. This is a book by Diana Evans. There was a movie out years ago, also called Ordinary People. It is not the same. I have looked up, I know it is definitely in French. I believe it is in Spanish. It is really hard to find out how many languages books are translated in, or maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place. If you work in publishing, please tell me how I can find out better. But yes, so Ordinary People, Diana Evans. I will post a picture because I have forgotten to bring the book up here. And I just want to really thank you all for joining. It's been lovely chatting to you, chatting to myself, presuming that you're listening. How very presumptuous of me. And I haven't hardly touched my beer. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy reading, and we will connect again in a couple of weeks. Bye.